The organ music swelled as I stood at the entrance of St. Patrick's Cathedral. But the man waiting at the altar wasn't my future. My fingers intertwined with Aaliyah's, her steady gaze giving me courage for what was about to unfold. In that moment 5 years of secrecy ended as we stepped forward together. The heavy wooden doors had barely closed behind us when the first gasps rippled through the pews like a wave crashing against the marble walls. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the long aisle. But all eyes were fixed on us, two women walking side by side, one in a flowing white gown, the other in a tailored cream suit that made her look both elegant and defiant. My heart hammered so loud I thought the entire congregation could hear it over the pipe organ. "Clementine, what are you doing?" My mother's voice cut through the music from the front row, her face drained of color as she clutched my father's arm. Richard Thompson, my father, the man who built a financial empire from nothing, stood rigid in his custom tuxedo, his jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle twitch. At the altar, Marcus Harrington, the tycoon heir my family had chosen for me, turned slowly, his usually confident smile frozen into disbelief. The guests, elite New York society figures in designer dresses and tailored suits, shifted uncomfortably, whispering behind gloved hands. This was supposed to be the perfect merger wedding, uniting the Thompson banking fortune with the Harrington real estate dynasty, a union planned since I was 22. But I couldn't do it anymore. Not after 5 years of hiding the woman I loved more than anything. Aaliyah squeezed my hand, her dark eyes steady despite the chaos. We had met at a small art gallery in Soho 5 years ago, both of us escaping the pressures of our worlds. I was fresh out of Columbia with my business degree, already being groomed for the family firm. She was an emerging artist scraping by with freelance design jobs, her passion for painting the only thing keeping her grounded. Our first conversation, over a shared love of abstract expressionism, turned into coffee, then late-night walks through Central Park. We kept it quiet at first because my family would never understand. They came from old money values, even though Dad built his own path. Being gay wasn't just unacceptable, it was a liability in their circle where marriages were alliances and appearances were everything. Over the years we built a secret life, stolen weekends in upstate cabins, quiet dinners in Brooklyn apartments where no one knew us. Aaliyah sacrificed so much, never pushing me to come out, never demanding more than I could give even when it hurt her. I paid the price too, in guilt that gnawed at me every time I smiled for family photos or attended events on Marcus' arm as the perfect daughter. Last night in the hotel suite, my mother had come to me, her voice soft but firm. "Clementine, this marriage is your duty. Marcus is a good man, the families need this. Think of your future, the legacy." I nodded then, but inside something broke. I texted Aaliyah at midnight, "Meet me at the side entrance tomorrow. Wear the suit we picked." She didn't ask why, she just said, "I trust you." Now here we were walking straight into the fire. The organ music faltered as the musician realized something was wrong. Marcus stepped down from the altar, his face pale. "Clem, is this some kind of joke?" he asked, his voice low, but carrying through the silent church. I stopped halfway down the aisle, pulling Aaliyah closer. "No, Marcus, it's not a joke. I can't marry you. I've been in love with Aaliyah for 5 years and I won't hide it anymore." The words hung in the air, heavy and final. My sister Sophia, who sat beside my mother, let out a choked sob, her eyes wide with what looked like betrayal. She had suspected something years ago, but I begged her to stay silent, promising it was just a phase. Now that phase was standing right beside me in front of everyone. My father moved first, striding down the aisle, his footsteps echoing like thunder. "You will stop this nonsense right now," he hissed, grabbing my arm. "The Harringtons are waiting, the contracts are signed. Think of the business, the reputation." Aaliyah stepped between us, her voice calm but firm. "Mr. Thompson, this isn't about hurting anyone. It's about Clementine finally being honest with herself and all of you." He glared at her like she was an intruder, which in his world she was. A woman from a working-class Puerto Rican family, an artist no less. The whispers grew louder, some guests already pulling out phones. I could see the headlines forming: lesbian scandal rocks high society wedding. My mother was crying now, dabbing her eyes with a lace handkerchief. "How could you do this to us, Clementine, after everything we gave you, the schools, the opportunities?" The guilt hit me like a punch, but I stood tall. "Because I can't live a lie anymore, Mom. I love her, and she loves me. That's worth more than any merger." Marcus stood there stunned, his best man whispering something to him. He had been kind enough in our brief courtship dinners arranged by our parents. But there was no spark, no depth. I felt terrible for humiliating him, but the alternative was a lifetime of faking it. The priest approached hesitantly, his robe swishing. Perhaps we should pause the ceremony, he suggested. My father ignored him, turning to the crowd. Everyone, please remain seated. This is a family matter. But it was too late. The damage was done. Aaliyah and I stood hand in hand at the center of the storm, the weight of every secret, every sacrifice, every moment of doubt pressing down. I had chosen this path knowing the cost, but in her eyes I saw the future I had dreamed of for 5 years. The family I was raised to honor was fracturing before my eyes, and yet for the first time I felt free. As security guards hovered unsure whether to intervene, the reality sank in. This was only the beginning. The real battles were just starting. My father's grip on my arm tightened as he pulled me aside into a side chapel, the scent of incense and old wood heavy in the air. Aaliyah followed close, refusing to let go of my hand even as ushers tried to block her. You have embarrassed this family in front of the most powerful people in New York, my father growled, his face flushed. The Harrington deal is worth hundreds of millions. Do you understand what you've thrown away? I met his eyes, the same steel gray as mine. I understand, Dad, but I can't trade my happiness for a business merger. Happiness, he scoffed. This is not about happiness, it's about responsibility. Your mother and I built everything so you could have a secure future, not chase some fantasy with this woman. Aaliyah stood tall, her posture proud despite the venom in his words. I'm not a fantasy, sir. I've been part of Clementina's life for 5 years, supporting her through every late-night study session, every family expectation she felt crushing her. My mother rushed in, her designer heels clicking rapidly. Clementine, please think of your sister. Sophia is engaged next month. How will this affect her? How will it look for our family name? Sophia hovered in the doorway, her face a mask of disappointment. I had confided in her once after too much wine at a holiday party, telling her about Aaliyah. She had hugged me, then said it was brave but warned me to keep it quiet for everyone's sake. Now she looked at me like I had betrayed her trust. You promised me it was over, she whispered when the others turned away. I thought you would do the right thing. The right thing. The words echoed in my head. What was right, sacrificing my truth for their comfort or hurting them to live authentically? Marcus entered the chapel, his shoulders slumped. I thought we had something, Clem, he said quietly. Not love maybe, but respect. Was I just a pawn in your escape plan? Guilt twisted in my stomach. No, Marcus, you deserved better than a woman who could never love you the way you deserve. I should have told you sooner, but I was scared. He nodded slowly, but the pain in his eyes was real. The Harringtons will pull out of the deal. My father will blame me too. Aaliyah spoke up, her voice steady. This isn't just about Clementine. It's about all of us paying the price for secrets. I've hidden our relationship too, pretending to be just a friend at gallery openings, dodging questions from my own family, who think I'm too focused on art to settle down. But I can't hide anymore either. The priest lingered outside the door, clearly uncomfortable with the unfolding drama. Perhaps a moment of prayer, he suggested, but my father waved him off. This is not a matter for God, it's business and family honor. Outside, the whispers had turned into a low roar. I could hear guests on their phones already spreading the news. My social media would explode by evening, old school friends texting in shock, colleagues from the firm where I worked as a junior analyst wondering if my promotion was now in jeopardy. We had planned the hiding so carefully. Aaliyah's apartment in Brooklyn was our sanctuary, where we cooked simple meals, watched old movies, and talked about a future where we didn't have to pretend. I remembered the night 2 years ago when my father almost caught us. I had told him I was staying late at the office, but Aaliyah and I were at a quiet bar in the village. He called and I lied smoothly, but the fear lingered for weeks. Now all those lies were crashing down. My mother turned to Aaliyah, her eyes filled with tears. You did this to her, didn't you? Filled her head with ideas. Aaliyah shook her head gently. No, ma'am. Clementine came to this decision herself because she's strong enough to choose love over fear. I felt a surge of pride mixed with sorrow. Aaliyah had given up gallery shows that could have launched her career because they conflicted with my family events. She had comforted me through panic attacks before every fake date with Marcus. The cost she paid was invisible but real. My father paced the small chapel, his phone buzzing nonstop. The board will hear about this. Our stock might dip on the scandal alone. You've put everything at risk for what, a relationship that society will never accept. Society. The word stung because it was true. In our circle, being lesbian meant whispers behind backs, lost invitations to galas, subtle exclusions from business deals. I had seen it happen to a cousin who came out years ago, now living quietly in California, barely speaking to the family. Was I ready for that isolation? Aaliyah caught my eye and mouthed, "I love you." In that second, the doubt faded. We had built something real through stolen moments and quiet promises. The confrontation stretched on, my sister's accusations mixing with my mother's pleas and my father's threats. Each word chipped away at the guilt, but also strengthened my resolve. By the time we emerged, the church had emptied somewhat, but cameras flashed from outside the doors. The media had arrived, tipped off by someone inside. Aaliyah and I walked out together, heads high, but inside I wondered how much more we would lose before this was over. The price was already mounting, and we had only just begun to pay it. The ride back to my parents' Upper East Side townhouse was silent except for the hum of the town car engine. Aaliyah sat beside me, her hand resting on my knee, offering silent strength, while my mother stared out the window, dabbing her eyes, and my father barked orders into his phone about damage control. Sophia had refused to ride with us, choosing instead to go with her fiancé, probably to distance herself from the scandal. I replayed the church scene in my mind, the looks of pity and judgment from people I had known since childhood. One aunt had even crossed herself as we passed. How had it come to this? 5 years ago, I never imagined I would be the one to blow up my family's carefully constructed world. Meeting Aaliyah at that gallery opening had felt like fate. She was laughing with a group of artists, her curly hair tied back, paint smudges on her jeans. I was there with a colleague, pretending to appreciate the art while mentally rehearsing a presentation for my father. Our eyes met over a vibrant canvas and something clicked. We talked for hours that night about dreams and fears and the pressure to conform. She told me about her mother working double shifts to support the family after her father left. I shared how my parents expected me to marry well and continue the legacy, never asking what I wanted. From that night, we were inseparable in secret. Dates were coded as girls' nights or work events. We celebrated anniversaries in hidden spots, like a rooftop in Queens where the city lights hit us from prying eyes. Aaliyah painted a series inspired by our love, abstract pieces in deep blues and golds that she never exhibited because they revealed too much. I kept a small locket with her photo tucked in my purse, always close but never shown. The pressure built slowly at first. My father introduced me to Marcus at a charity gala when I was 24. "He's perfect for you," he said later over scotch. "Smart, ambitious, from a good family." I smiled and nodded because refusing would mean questions I wasn't ready to answer. Marcus was charming enough: dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants, weekend trips to the Hamptons where we played the perfect couple for photos. But every kiss felt wrong, every touch a reminder of the lie. Aaliyah never complained, though I saw the hurt in her eyes when I canceled plans for family obligations. Once during a particularly bad argument, she said, "I can't keep being your secret forever, Clem." But she stayed because love made her patient. Now, as the car pulled up to the townhouse, I wondered if that patience had run out. Inside the living room with its antique furniture and family portraits, my father poured himself a drink. "Sit down, both of you," he commanded. "This ends today. You will apologize to the Harringtons, issue a statement saying it was cold feet, and we will reschedule the wedding." I shook my head. "No, Dad. I want." Aaliyah sat beside me on the velvet couch, her presence grounding me. "Mr. Thompson, I respect your concerns, but forcing Clementine into a marriage she doesn't want will only cause more pain in the long run." My mother sank into an armchair, her pearls clutched tightly. "What will people say at the club, the board meetings? Our friends will think we failed as parents." Sophia burst through the door, her face streaked with mascara. "You ruined everything, Clementine. My wedding plans are already getting questions. How could you be so selfish?" Selfish. The word hit hard because part of me agreed. I had known the arranged marriage was coming for years, and still let it progress to the altar. But staying silent would have been the real selfishness, denying who I was and dragging Marcus into a loveless union. I turned to my sister. "I protected you by keeping quiet, sophomore, remember, when you asked me to cover for your own secrets. This is my truth." She looked away, but the betrayal lingered in her eyes. My father slammed his glass down. "Enough. If you insist on this path, Clementine, you are no longer welcome here. The trust fund, the apartment, the job at the firm, consider them gone." Aaliyah stood up, her voice rising for the first time. "You would disown your own daughter for loving someone. That's not family, that's control." The room erupted in arguments, voices overlapping, accusations flying. I felt torn between the love I had for my parents, the life they built, and the love that had sustained me through it all. Memories flooded back of childhood vacations where my father taught me to sail, his rare smiles when I aced exams. My mother braiding my hair for debutante balls, whispering advice on poise. They loved me in their way, but their love came with conditions. Aaliyah pulled me aside in the hallway during a lull. Whatever happens, we face it together. I have my savings, my art. We can start over. Her words reminded me of the nights we dreamed aloud about a small house upstate, maybe adopting a dog, living openly. The moral dilemma weighed heavy. Was my happiness worth the destruction of my family's reputation, the financial hit, the emotional scars on my sister and mother? Society would judge me harshly, whispers of selfish daughter, ungrateful. But staying would mean a slow death of my spirit. As the argument continued into the night, I realized the choice wasn't between right and wrong, but between two painful paths. By dawn, my father had made calls, the disownment was official, papers would follow. My mother cried herself to sleep in the guest room. Sophia left without a goodbye. Aaliyah and I packed a small bag from my old room and slipped out into the early morning streets of Manhattan. The city that had hidden us for 5 years now felt like a battlefield. But hand in hand we walked toward an uncertain future, the weight of every decision, every sacrifice pressing on us both. The real test of our love was just beginning. The next morning the news was everywhere. Headlines screamed: Thompson heiress dumps Tycoon groom for secret lesbian lover at altar. My phone buzzed nonstop with texts from former colleagues, friends who suddenly wanted details or distance. Aaliyah and I checked into a modest hotel in Midtown using her credit card since mine had already been frozen. We sat on the edge of the bed, the laptop open to the articles. One photo showed us walking out of the church, my face determined, hers supportive. I can't believe it happened so fast, I said, my voice cracking. Aaliyah wrapped an arm around me. We knew the cost, Clem. But we also knew the reward. Her touch brought back memories of quieter times when we would lie awake talking about coming out on our terms, not like this in a blaze of publicity. The betrayal from my family stung deepest. My father had already issued a statement distancing the firm from me, calling my actions a personal matter that didn't reflect company values. The Harringtons released their own quote expressing disappointment and confirming the merger was off. Millions lost in a single afternoon. I thought about Marcus again, his stunned face at the altar. He didn't deserve the public humiliation, even if he was part of the arranged setup. Aaliyah suggested we meet him to apologize, but I wasn't ready. The moral weight pressed on me. Had I done the right thing by choosing honesty over harmony? In the days that followed, we faced the fallout. My sister Sophia called once, her voice icy. Dad says if you don't recant by the end of the week, the family trust is dissolved. You'll get nothing. Aaliyah was there listening, her own family situation complicated. Her mother had texted asking if the rumors were true, and when Aaliyah confirmed, there was silence, no support, just a reminder that good girls don't cause scandals. We spent hours in the hotel room talking through the pain. I recounted every family dinner where my mother hinted at grandchildren, my father discussed succession plans. Aaliyah shared her struggles growing up queer in a traditional household, the fear of rejection that kept her from dating openly until me. One afternoon we ventured out to Central Park, the same paths we had walked in secret. Now we held hands, openly ignoring the stares. A young couple smiled at us, but an older woman frowned and muttered something under her breath. Societal prejudice wasn't new, but now it was public. A reporter spotted us and shouted questions. Clementine, is this a rebellion against your parents' wealth? Aaliyah pulled me away, her protectiveness fierce. Back in the room we collapsed into each other, the emotional exhaustion heavy. I cried for the family I lost, the life I gave up. Aaliyah held me, whispering that our love was worth every tear. But doubt crept in during quiet moments. What if I had waited, talked to them privately? Would the outcome be different, or would the pressure have worn me down until I married Marcus anyway? The confrontation with my mother came via a surprise visit to the hotel. She arrived alone, her makeup perfect but her eyes red. Clementine, please come home. We can fix this, say it was a mistake. The Harringtons are willing to forgive if you apologize publicly. I stood firm. Mom, I love you, but I can't live that lie. She looked at Aaliyah with a mix of resentment and curiosity. You took my daughter from me. Aaliyah replied softly. I didn't take her. She chose to be herself. The conversation ended in tears, my mother leaving with a warning that the door was closing forever. That night Aaliyah and I talked about the price we both paid. She had lost potential commissions because galleries associated her with the scandal. I had lost my job, my security. Yet in her arms I felt a peace I had never known in the gilded cage of my old life. The awakening was slow but real. I was no longer the dutiful daughter but a woman claiming her truth. Still the guilt lingered like a shadow. Was the public betrayal too much the way I hurt innocent people like Marcus and my sister? As weeks turned into a month, we started rebuilding small steps, a new apartment in Queens, shared expenses, Aaliyah's art gaining traction because of the visibility, though not all positive. Friends who truly mattered reached out, others faded. The drama had tested us, but our bond grew stronger, forged in fire. Every decision, every sacrifice had led to this moment of clarity. We were free, but the cost was etched in the hearts of those we left behind. The court papers arrived on a rainy Tuesday. My father was suing to reclaim the trust fund assets he claimed were conditional on family loyalty. Aaliyah read them over my shoulder, her brow furrowed. "This is how they fight now," she said. "Not with words but with money." We hired a lawyer, a friend of hers from art school who specialized in family disputes. The meetings were tense discussions of precedents and emotional distress. Meanwhile, my sister Sophia posted on social media about family unity, subtly shading me as the disruptor. The betrayal cut deep because she had been my confidant once. I remembered the night she covered for me when I snuck out to see Aaliyah. Now she stood with them. Aaliyah faced her own family drama. Her mother came to our new apartment unannounced, a small woman with strong hands from years of work. She hugged Aaliyah, then looked at me. "This is the girl who caused all the trouble." Aaliyah defended me, explaining our love, but her mother left with tears, saying she needed time. The societal pressure mounted. At a coffee shop, a former classmate approached me. "I always knew you were different, Clem, but at the altar, really?" The judgment was everywhere, online comments calling me selfish attention seeker. One article interviewed an anonymous family friend, painting me as spoiled. Through it all, Aaliyah was my rock. We spent evenings cooking simple meals, talking about the future. She started a new series of paintings inspired by our journey, bold strokes of red and gold representing courage and healing. I took a job at a small nonprofit helping young LGBTQ professionals, the work fulfilling though the pay was modest. The moral dilemmas continued. Was I right to drag Aaliyah into the spotlight when she preferred quiet creativity? She assured me it was our choice together, but I saw the strain in her eyes when paparazzi lingered outside. One night we argued, the first real fight since the wedding. "You sacrificed your privacy for me," I said. She replied, "I chose this because I love you, but sometimes I miss the anonymity." We reconciled with promises to protect each other better. The climax came at a family mediation session arranged by lawyers. My parents sat across the table, my father cold, my mother hopeful. Sophia refused to attend. "We can drop the lawsuit if you sign a statement disavowing the relationship," my father said. I looked at Aaliyah, then back at them. "No. This is who I am." The session ended in stalemate, but something shifted in my mother's eyes, a flicker of understanding. Later she called privately. "I don't agree, but I see you're paying Clementine. Maybe in time." It was a small crack in the wall. Aaliyah's sacrifices were evident too. She turned down a major gallery show because it required travel that would separate us during the legal mess. Her career slowed, but her art deepened. We both paid the price and lost opportunities, strained family ties, and public scrutiny. The awakening came gradually. I realized love wasn't just romance, but the daily choice to stand together against the world. The drama had forced me to confront my privilege, the ease of my old life built on conformity. Now I was building something authentic, though harder. Friends who stayed became our chosen family. The betrayal from my blood relatives hurt, but it clarified who mattered. As the lawsuit dragged on, we focused on small joys, weekend hikes, shared laughs. The cost was high, but the reward was a life without secrets. Still, questions lingered in quiet moments. Had the dramatic choice at the altar been necessary, or could a softer approach have spared some pain? The answer wasn't simple, but in Aaliyah's smile I found my truth. Months later, the lawsuit settled out of court. I kept a small portion of the trust, enough for stability, but the bulk remained with the family as a final statement of disapproval. My father didn't attend the meeting, but my mother did, her hug brief but genuine. "Take care of yourself, Clementine," she whispered. Maybe one day we can talk. Sophia sent a text afterward, cold but acknowledging the end. Aaliyah and I moved into a cozy brownstone in Brooklyn, the walls soon filled with her paintings. I thrived at the nonprofit, even starting a mentorship program for young women facing similar family pressures. Aaliyah's art gained quiet acclaim. A gallery show celebrating resilience drew crowds who saw their own stories in the canvases. The scandal faded from headlines, replaced by newer dramas, but the lessons stayed. We faced societal prejudice in subtle ways, denied service once at an upscale restaurant or awkward silences at gatherings. Yet we stood firm. One evening on the beach in the Hamptons, a place we once visited in secret, we walked barefoot, the waves lapping at our feet. Aaliyah turned to me. We paid the price, but look what we gained. I nodded, thinking of the women in our story, my mother clinging to tradition, my sister choosing loyalty over understanding, Marcus finding his own path, reportedly dating someone new. Each had paid in their way, lost trust, broken plans, emotional scars. My awakening was complete. I was no longer defined by family expectations but by the choices I made, the love I chose. The drama had tested every part of us, the internal conflicts, the external battles, the moral gray areas. Was it worth it? In moments like this, with her hand in mine, the answer was yes. But the bigger question remained for everyone involved. Did Clementine do the right thing by shattering her family's arranged future to claim her love for Aaliyah, or should she have accepted the sacrifice of her own happiness to preserve the peace and legacy everyone expected? What would you have done in her place?